This is the 2023 Van Clyburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray, your host for this, and this is the second and already the final day of our preliminary round.
I can't believe it, Buddy. I'm Bridget Kibbe. I'm your co-host, and we are broadcasting live from Caruth Auditorium right here in Dallas, Texas.
And remember, you can see all of the names of our competitors, their repertoire, and when they're performing. Just surf on over to Cliburn.org. And the other very important thing to do at Cliburn.org is to cast your vote for audience favorite. There's all the information you need on our website, Cliburn.org.
And while you're there, head on over to the social media platforms of the Clyburn to read more about our competitors, their backstories, the repertoire they've chosen, and lots of details about the festival that's also happening during this competition.
This year, our webcast is supported by our friends at Texas Ballet Theater through a generous donation from Ann T. and Robert M. Bass. So we thank the Texas Ballet Theater and Mr. and Mrs. Bass.
You know, you can also donate as well by going to Cliburn.org, and your donation is what allows this competition to happen in the future. We're seeing the incredible talent of so many young pianists, and it's actually donations like yours that allow these pianists to have the opportunity to perform for the world.
Speaking of incredible young talent, we've got 11 more pianists here tonight. We've heard some great talent so far. And as we've been talking about, it's all about constructing a 20-minute program that gives you a window into a pianist's soul and a pianist's mind. And there's an art to creating a program, I think, like that.
Absolutely. We've talked about the fact that a lot of these artists have really crafted a journey for the listener. I've been very impressed by the variation of articulation and color on the piano over 20 minutes via 3 or 4 pieces. It's really amazing to see how many windows into different sides of these personas we're witnessing.
I should have said there are 5 more contestants, not 11 more. I didn't mean to scare you. We would be here all night. Anyway, there on the screen you can see the last 5 of the preliminary round that we'll hear. You know, getting back to that repertoire question though,
yes.
some people have chosen real chunks of repertoire,
yes.
barn-burning pieces. Some contestants have chosen a little bit of everything. I'm particularly thinking of a program we heard this afternoon that started with Liadov piano pieces, yes. and then a little Bach, and then the F-sharp,
yes.
Rachmaninoff Etude. Just a wonderful, wonderful program. And that was the pianist that played also that Chopin Rondo à la Mazur,
yes.
the performance that you thought was so vivid.
Oh, the rhythm in that Mazur was incredible. It was really fun to hear the crisp articulation he had on the piano.
I think rhythm, as we've been talking a little bit off camera, is such an important thing, which yes. not everybody thinks is an important thing, but it is one of the main connectors we were talking about between a performer and an audience. If a performer can get across the rhythm of a piece, it invites the audience in a certain way, I think.
Absolutely. Well said, buddy. It's totally wonderful.
We're going to meet our first competitor now. He is Zihan Jin, age 14, from China. Take a look at this.
My name is Zihan Jin, and I'm from China. I'm 14 years old. 我是4岁开始学钢琴，然后那个时候是我爸爸先带我启蒙的。当时呢，我们就是一起听很多音乐，然后一起探讨这个音乐。我最喜欢的作曲家是肖邦，因为呢他的作品非常的富有诗意，非常的好听。我觉得克莱本这个比赛是非常专业性的。然后我也很荣幸能够站在这个舞台上。
If there's one composer whom pianists love to play above all others, it's Frédéric Chopin. His music was just made for literally yes. made for the piano, and he specialized in piano music really to the exclusion of most all other instruments and media. Pianists love to play. The music is laid out so beautifully. for the piano, and he also knew how to give the pianist a certain challenge that would not be so obvious.
Wonderful.
Sometimes. We're going to see him play two works. Zihan Jin is taking the stage now at this 2023 Clyburn Junior competition. Here he is. now meet our next contestant, Modan Oyama, 17 from Japan. Here's a little bit about him.
My name is Modan Oyama. I'm from Japan. I'm 70 years old. 幼稚園の頃に、先生が、ピアノをしていて、で弾いていて、その、ピアノを、聴いて、自分でなんかこういうのをやってみたいなと思って始めました。曲に乗りながら弾いたり、踊ったり。
Modan Oyama, 17, is our next contestant to take the stage. He's going to play two movements of the Prokofiev Sonata No. 6. Bridget, that ought to be a good time.
Yes.
He has been studying ballet also.
Oh,
Since he
absolutely.
started piano at 4, started ballet at 3. So I think this should inform his piano playing rhythmically.
And still dancing
as you,
ballet, I understand. That's incredible.
He's also going to play another Chopin Etude in A minor. We just heard one, but this is Opus 10 No. 2 that he's going to play, and it is one of the most fearsomely difficult things in the repertoire. Coming on stage now, Modan Oyama, 17 from Japan, here at the Clyburn Junior 2023 edition. Here he is. That's 17-year-old Modan Oyama from Japan. I told you that was going to be a good time, that Prokofiev, right?
He completely embodied that piece. Incredible, really incredible.
Especially that last movement, which is so harrowing. It's supposed to be so harrowing. And this is one of Prokofiev's sonatas that he wrote during the Second World War. And they depict war and war machinery.
You hear it.
But this was such a brilliant performance. And
Incredible.
then I was really blown away also by that Chopin Etude. He made it seem not very difficult
He
at
had
all.
such a,
And it's
incredible.
it strikes fear in the heart of every pianist. Not every pianist can play that. We're coming up next to more Chopin, courtesy of Chenxi Chu, 14 years old from China. He's going to play two works in his program in the key of F sharp major. There's a Bach Prelude and Fugue in F sharp major, and also he will play the Chopin Barcarolle, also in F sharp major. Bridget, the Chopin Barcarolle is another one of those pieces that is so personal.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
it'll give us a window into his soul as well. He's also going to play a piece by Marc-André Hamelin, who was one of our commissioned composers at the Clyburn. He's going to play the Minute Waltz in seconds. We'll let you figure out what that means. Chenxi Chu is our next competitor. Let's take a minute and meet him.
My name is Chenxi Chu. I'm 14 years old and I'm from Shanghai, China. I started to play piano at 4.5. My teacher is Tang Jie and Zhou Fan. I like them very much because they give me courage and teach me a lot of feelings and the pictures of the piece. This is my first international competition. I'm very excited. I think it's a very big challenge and I wanted to let me improve my skills.
Bridget, this is another one of those programs that sort of comes together so beautifully in terms of tonality, of starting with F sharp and then more F sharp.
It's lovely to see competitors think that way. It's also so fun for me as a harpist to see one composer like Chopin showing his expressive range on the piano and all these different etudes. It's really incredible to see just this snapshots of different views of the expressive power of this instrument. It's really powerful to witness.
I think that's why Chopin is just who he was, and he was such a pioneer in so many ways, sort of a quiet pioneer in the art of just extending what the piano could do, the expressive range of the Debussy was another one of those. We'll talk more about that. Chenxi Chu is just about to take the stage here at the Clyburn Junior 2023 in his program of Bach, Prelude, F sharp, Prelude and Fugue in F sharp major, excuse me. He's going to play the Chopin Etude Opus 10, number 8. It's a fantastic etude in F major where the right hand just sweeps up and down the keyboard. Then the lovely late Chopin Barcarolle, Opus 60, ending with a piece by Marc-André Hamelin, or as he sometimes says, Hamelin, because he thinks everybody pronounces his name wrong, so he just says, say Hamelin. He's going to play the Minute Waltz in seconds. We'll let you figure out what that title means. Marc-André Hamelin memorably wrote the piece for the 2 Clyburns ago. Here is Chenxi Chu, age 14, from China. 14-year-old Chenxi Chu from China giving us that little treat at the end of a beautifully played program, Bridget Kibbe.
What a poet.
Just right from the very beginning of the BACH. I think we both felt that this was a poet at work.
Absolutely. He was listening
piano.
to every single note and singing every single line.
Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe. We are broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas at the Caruth Auditorium.
Now, while the audience at Caruth is taking a 20-minute intermission, Bridget and I are going to use part of that time to briefly recap what you have heard in this session so far. We first heard this evening, Bridget, Zihan Jin, 14, from China. Beautiful pianist.
I feel like he was a perfect conduit for Chopin and really being an advocate. And I know he specifically expressed he would like to be a conduit for a composer's expression. I think he was really successful in both Chopin pieces.
I think you were particularly moved by that E major Scherzo, the middle section of that E major.
The time he took to really make all the leaps so beautiful. It was really stunning.
Then we heard Modan Oyama, 17 years old, from Japan. He's the guy that started classical ballet at 3 and piano at 4.
I feel like we both agreed that he had this kinetic connection to the music. He really embodied every single gesture he played, rhythm and sound, and was completely comfortable in his skin. It was really just a sight to behold. Beautiful.
I felt that particularly in the Prokofiev Sonata, in the first movement that he played of it, which was the second movement, which you reacted to actually quite strongly in a positive.
It was fabulous, really beautiful. What a stunning musician.
Then we followed that up, of course, with Chenxi Chu, that we've just heard playing all that Bach, and 2.5 works by Chopin.
Yes.
So beautifully. That Etude, he found the poetry actually in the Etude, I felt, as well.
Oh, incredible. And like you mentioned, he takes his time and his tone has warmth throughout no matter what the gesture is. It just, he leads with a beautiful tone, and he's quite a singer on the piano.
He really is. We've still got 2 more competitors to hear in this preliminary round. We'll hear them after this 20-minute intermission. But speaking of competitors, you can find all of them on Clyburn.org. Their names, their list of repertoire, and what times they are playing. We'll have to update that, of course, after this evening for the quarterfinal round, which begins tomorrow.
And you can also read all about our competitors on the social media platforms, the pieces they've chosen, the whys, and all about the festival surrounding this international competition.
In a minute, we're going to be joined by 2001 Van Clyburn International Piano Competition co-gold medalist Stanislav Yudenich. But I thought first we could take a look at some of the other arts happening around Dallas. Take a look.
Now, I guess every town has a flavor all its own. But this one seems to have more than most. Perched on the edge of the prairie, where it can never lose sight of its past and can see the future forever. Fort Worth, Texas, the unexpected city.
And we are back with, as promised, 2001 Clyburn co-gold medalist Stanislav Yudenich. It's such a pleasure to have you on the webcast, Stasek. You have always been one of my favorite pianists that we have ever produced at the Clyburn. There are a lot. Okay. And I will never forget hearing you play Petrushka live, and you made Petrushka come to life,
nice,
and I have never forgotten it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You have made such a career now as an important teacher, and a really, really busy one as well. You teach in 2 different places. How does that work out?
The trick is to put everything in the calendar and look at it.
But you probably spend a lot of time on an airplane, right?
It is a lot of time, yes. I travel a lot.
So you're here hearing some of our festival participants.
Yes.
What's the difference, do you think, in teaching a 13-year-old and teaching an 18 or 19-year-old?
Yeah, I think I would say it is a huge responsibility to teach kids, and actually I'm not doing that. I choose not to do it because I think they need much more attention, much more time. They need mama. Yeah, I cannot be mama. Yeah, right? Because they are learning. It's like the child start walking and speaking. They are learning everything about piano from scratch, and it is very important not to ruin them from the very beginning. Our first teachers are the most important teachers.
Do you find that the students you get now, do you have things that you have to undo in their technique, or
sometimes,
do you?
Sometimes, but I get for many years I was working with older people, yeah, and then it is very hard to undo anything there, right? You can channel, give some ideas. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they can't, especially physically, especially if we're talking about the professionalism of playing, For the kids, I work also with young people. Obviously, it is, I have to tell them what is better for them, of course. However, when they come, for example, I teach in Oberlin Conservatory, right? They come when they are 17, sometimes younger even. They already have an experience, they already have their schooling done. Their technique is almost there. I think by 13, 14, you have to be already, if you want to make the profession, yes, you have to be ready by that time.
So you have undergraduates then at Oberlin because
Oberlin,
it is an undergraduate institution
they
entirely.
don't have graduate programs.
And then at Park, you have older kids and younger kids?
Yes,
or
older,
mix of
yes,
both?
graduate students, and sometimes they're very people with some careers, and somebody who wants to continue their development at the high level and want to participate in competitions. Some of them are already playing concerts, so they just prepare big programs, and so there we're talking about different things.
Right. So the goals are different for your Kansas City students than they are when you take an undergraduate at Oberlin.
Exactly.
So how many students in each place? Then?
No, it's different. It's a secret. It's a
secret. It's a secret formula.
No, I keep a very small studio in Kansas City and a full class in Oberlin.
So wow. So how often do you live in Kansas City still,
I
right?
live in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're going to Oberlin every 2 weeks?
all the time. I have to fly there, but I also work in Madrid.
Oh, I forgot. So you have 3 jobs now.
That's yeah. So I travel very much.
So you have a lot of frequent flyer miles.
I have them, yes.
Fantastic.
I have priority boarding.
Fantastic. Do you have a special place you like to sit in an airplane? You have a special
I do. Aisle.
Just aisle then, because I know that
I would like to walk. I would like to, because I have certain problems with my back, and so I need to be able to move.
Let's talk about a super happy subject, which
Yes.
is your daughter, Maria.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable violinist. At what age did she start playing?
Actually, she started very, very early. She was 3. And poor girl, she didn't have any chance. We just gave her a little violin. Here it is.
And you're going to play
This is
it,
your
or?
toy. And so she started, started to study violin, but not in a professional school. Never professional school until she went to Curtis. She had great beginning teachers, but we didn't know. We didn't expect her to be violinist. We just gave her to do something extra. And of course, my father was a phenomenal violinist, and they tried me to be. They gave me the violin also when I was 7.5, but really it didn't work out, as you can tell. I hated it with all my heart.
Well, that's great for us, though.
Yeah,
because
I don't
we
know.
get to have you in this world.
Yes, I went to the piano.
We want you in
business,
this world. We want you in piano world. So, how old was Maria then when you sort of realized that she was an exceptional talent?
That I don't know about exceptional talent. She was gifted in many ways. But she went to the just normal school, not this pre-college conservatory. No, just normal school. She went to normal school and she played violin. When she was 15, it was about the time, we thought with my wife, it was about the time to decide, to make a decision. Either you want to go to school and continue with the sciences and do something, or if you want to become a violinist, you have to take a different attitude towards the practicing and everything. And so we gave her, I said, Maria, don't think we want you to be a musician. This is now your choice. But you have two worlds. You have to decide where you're going, because either way, you have to start working differently. And it was a shock for her.
Really?
She really thought we wanted her to be a musician.
Well, it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, and then she decided to go with the violin. It clicked not overnight, but it started more and more and more being involved. And look, I can tell you, it was a very, very natural way to become a musician. Eventually, she became a great musician. Not technology, not, of course, she's a virtuoso, but musician. And when she was coming already, she was on Curtis, then later she went to New England Conservatory. And of course, I missed all her studies, because she would be always in school in a different city. And when she would come, she would play something, and I would see that amazing development. Faster, bigger, more interesting, more and more. And came to that point then when she decided to, because she didn't want to participate in competitions. She didn't feel them really, even when she was in Curtis. And I thought she would become a chamber musician, which she did. She was a concertmaster of the Curtis Symphony. And I thought, well, definitely she will be a fantastic teacher eventually. But I know that because of the information she plays with. However, suddenly, she participated in 3 European competitions, 1 month apart with each other, won all of them 2 years ago. And her career started like that.
And it's taking off?
Day after tomorrow, I go to Berlin. She's playing in Berliner Philharmonie.
So you're a proud dad.
I'm quite proud.
And we are so happy that you are coming to Fort Worth next year with Maria. Now, you know exactly how competitions work, having been in a few yourself, and it worked out well for you at the Clyburn. We are going to announce the quarterfinal. We didn't have that when we didn't do quarterfinals when you were doing it, but we have quarterfinals now, and we're going to announce the quarterfinalists tonight. What's happening after this intermission is 2 more contestants are playing, and then the jury will deliberate for a short while. The quarterfinalists will be announced. We will be on the air that entire time, so we will announce the quarterfinalists to you before we go off the air tonight. Now, we are going to let you have a little look at the piano. We're going to pop the hood and show you what's inside. Take a look.
So a piano is technically a percussion instrument. It's sort of a chain reaction of striking. When a pianist plays the key, they set in motion a system of levers which eventually catapults a piano hammer. It's just a felt-covered piece of wood that launches towards the strings, strikes the strings, sets them into vibration, and then that sets in motion the wooden soundboard underneath all the strings that creates all this. It's important to prepare the piano because the pianist will be pushing it to its limits and need to be able to rely on it like a race car driver would rely on their car to win a race. It needs to be able to have warmth and also brilliance at fortissimo and a nice smooth gradient in between those dynamic extremes. And then the strings are held in place by tuning pins. You just wrap it around a steel pin with a hole in it. It's very old world technology.
Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray with Bridget Kibbe. Bridget, this is the time, just about right now, when audiences start picking their favorites and having high hopes for people.
Yes.
And stuff like that. This is when, right at the end of the preliminaries, that's the time when people start to get emotionally invested in
We're
contestants, and we are there ourselves.
We are definitely there.
So this is the emotional component of a piano competition. I've been through so many of these now, and every time I decide I am going to be completely aloof, I'm going to hold myself completely apart from it. I've done this so many times, I know how they all work. And then I start to have my favorites, of course. You can't help yourself.
It's a proper immersion into the repertoire, the performers, their personalities. Really a delight. And actually, you can choose your audience favorite at theclyburn.org. You can vote once per day.
I can't help but have my favorites. I'm sure you have your favorites as well. Did you do competitions much?
Yes, harpists have international competitions. Now, we don't have 4 rounds. We usually have 3 rounds, and we don't have as many competitors. It's a smaller world, but they're just so wonderful for getting you in your best shape. And preparing recitals, I mean, there's no better way, really.
So as a former competitor yourself, then, what do you think these kids, these 23 kids, are feeling right now? Because I saw some of them, before we started this evening session, I saw some of them assembling in the lobby here at Caruth, and I thought, they're looking pretty serious tonight.
Yes, I think there's that heart palpitation moment when you're waiting for the results, but the great thing about the organization of the Clyburn is that they foster friendships between the competitors. So you can see they've already formed their peers and their friendships amidst all of this. So, but the wait is never easy. I can't imagine the strolling through the lobby to find out what's going to happen.
And sitting with fellow competitors and stuff. But as you said, this is just such a positive experience all the way around, because this is not necessarily a make or break moment for a 13-year-old.
Yes.
For a 23-year-old, this is a make or break moment. But for a 13-year-old, not so much. Of course, they want to do well. They want to advance and they want to win. But they can frame it in a certain way if they don't.
Absolutely, and for many of them, it's their first time to an international competition, or at least one in the States. So there's a lot of excitement about the new here as well.
Okay. We're going to let you meet the next competitor. Bridget and I are going to be back in just a minute, but we want you to meet Jessie Gong, who is our next competitor. Take a look.
My name is Jessie Gong. I'm 16 years old and I'm from China. I moved to the US to study in junior school, pre-college. When I was a little younger, I was really interested in anything that's kind of you cannot reach and you cannot see. So like astronomy and physiology and stuff like that. My mind, Clyburn Junior has always been a goal for me. It's up there. So I wanted to try and see if I can get in. And also the thing about competition that I really like, it's the preparing process, and you have to challenge yourself every day to be ready for the competition.
Xuanyan Jessie Gong, 16, from China. She is actually a competition veteran, having won this year the Kaufman Music Center International Piano Competition. She was also from the top.
Oh, wonderful. A lot of the competitors I've noticed have been a part of that. That's amazing.
Experienced performer as well. She's going to be sharing her soul and her heart with us today. Let's, you were going to
I was
share
really
a quote
impressed.
with us.
Yes, thank you, Buddy. I was impressed with her quote, and you can read all of this in the program booklet or on social media, but she says, "I believe that our music can never lie because our hearts never lie, and music is something that is very close to the heart. Our true personality will show in our music, and what we tried to hide in real life will show in our music. One's music is a mirror of one's life."
That's a mouthful, isn't
It's
it?
a perfect mouthful. It's so sweet. It really shows. I think there's certain things you can't teach these pianists. It's just really coming intrinsically from them. It's not coming from the outside. There's so much poetry here today on the stage, and also in the way they think about life and music, which is such a treat to witness.
And it's what we've been saying all along about a personality shining through the music. You have to let it.
Yes.
But when they let it, it is a really beautiful thing. And I think at this age, to 13, 14, 15, maybe that self-critical, awful thing that we develop as adults hasn't had enough time to set in at 13, 14, 15, like that. So personality is more naturally going to shine. It is unabashed. That's a great way to put it. She is, of course, going to play a Prelude and Fugue by Bach in D minor, the Chopin Ballade number 1. Now that's a chestnut, but we have not heard it.
That's correct.
Thus far.
Right.
We've heard the F minor Ballade a couple of times, but this is our first G minor Ballade. And then she's going to play 2 Rachmaninoff etudes. I asked her about this on Tuesday, and she said she wanted to play that A minor, the Little Red Riding Hood etude, it is sometimes called in Rachmaninoff. I think might have called it that himself. That's her virtuoso piece, but she told me that she wanted a companion to that, something a little bit more lyrical to go just in front of that. And of course, they are related key-wise, C major and A minor. So she'll do a program of Bach, Chopin, that'll be the big one in there, the big chunk. And then those 2 Rachmaninoff etudes. Xuanyan, Jessie Gong, 16 from China, already a veteran of the Kaufman International Piano Competition and a radio personality because she's been on From the Top, NPR's From the Top. We're looking forward to hearing her. We'll take you down to stage now. Here is Xuanyan, Jessie Gong. Xuanyan Jessie Gong, 16, from China, studying in the United States with Ernest Beretta at Juilliard Pre-College. It was a wonderful program, and I feel like, you know, it's very hard to tell watching a performance through a monitor, but I feel like she was really connecting with the people in the concert hall.
Absolutely. She brought all the brightness and fire from the first note. I can just see them feeling that energy coming across the stage.
I liked because, you know, everything was forward moving. Her energy is very, let's move forward. She is not reflective. She is moving forward all the time. That really connected with the audience. Andrew Gu is our last contestant in this preliminary round of the 2023 Clyburn Junior. Let's take a minute to meet him.
My name is Andrew Gu. I'm 16 and I'm from Orinda, California, a suburb of San Francisco. I connect most when I'm playing music that I love personally, and not necessarily music that they like, but my perspective on the music when I share them. It's like a connection that can't really be felt anywhere else. I feel like Chopin 10-1 is probably, out of the first round, my favorite piece because it just displays, it's like a monolith of energy.
That is 16-year-old Andrew Gu from the United States, wrapping up this preliminary round like a boss. I'm Buddy Bray. I'm your host for the webcast.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe. We are broadcasting live from Caruth Auditorium in Dallas, Texas.
Let's take a look at those last two. We started with Jessie Gong.
What a fire powerhouse, brilliant performer that had the audience in her hand for sure.
That was a super high octane Chopin
Yes.
G minor ballade. You know, whenever I'm seasoned, shall we say, and whenever I see that on a program, I just think, oh, Chopin G minor ballade. But when it's a super high octane performance like that, she owned the piece. She made it her own.
Absolutely.
It makes me think I'm hearing it for the first time.
Oh,
when I
that's
hear
so
somebody.
moving.
When
I
hear
already
somebody
shed
play
some
like that.
tears in this round. I got to keep it together over here. It's so powerful.
And then we ended with Andrew Gu, of course, just now. Have you ever seen anybody have that much fun playing the piano?
He was reveling in every single moment, Buddy. You're exactly right. It was such a magical thing to see him just enjoying the physicality of playing, hearing every gesture. It was magic.
And I also think that it reminds me of a quote from Leonard Bernstein talking about Van Clyburn, actually.
Okay.
Leonard Bernstein was on the jury when Van was in the Leventrit, which he also won.
Gosh.
But he said he loves music and he loves the way he plays it.
That's
He
incredible.
loves what he's playing and he loves how he plays it. I think that applies to Andrew Gu as well. We're going to take a look at his biopack now.
My name is Andrew Gu. I'm 16 and I'm from Orinda, California, a suburb of San Francisco. I connect most when I'm playing music that I love personally, and not necessarily music that they like, but my perspective on the music when I share them. It's like a connection that can't really be felt anywhere else. I feel like Chopin 10-1 is probably, out of the first round, my favorite piece because it just displays, it's like a monolith of energy. I love Van Clyburn, I love his music, I love his listener recording. So for this year, this is my only competition, my main objective, and I came here to show what I'm made of.
Entirety. Remember, you can see a list that will be updated pretty quickly now of the names and times that these competitors play and their repertoire for all rounds on Clyburn.org.
You can also read about our competitors on the social media platforms of the Clyburn, the repertoire, why they've chosen them, what they do outside of the piano, and also the festival festivities that are happening around the competition.
Those festival festivities are, in fact, very festive. In fact, we are going to have later on in the broadcast tonight, we're going to hear from somebody who just did an artist talk at the festival, just at our dinner break at 5:15. We want to emphasize that the webcast this year is supported by the Texas Ballet Theater through a generous donation from Auntie and Robert M. Bass. We also want to tell you that now the jury is in deliberation. It won't take as long as maybe you think it will. The quarterfinalists announcement will be coming up pretty soon now. We'll be staying with you, of course, until those results come in. In this break, we're going to be talking to the Clyburn gift shop manager, Mary Elizabeth Van Meter. But first, we thought we would like to tell you that Anderson and Rowe are making a special appearance on this webcast to play Leonard Bernstein's America. Here's Anderson and Rowe. One of the things we like best about the Clyburn is that we expand our Clyburn family always, and we like to hear from people in our Clyburn family that have been in our Clyburn family for a while. Anderson and Rowe are two of those people. They were, of course, brilliant correspondents at the last Van Cliburn International Piano Competition. And as you can see, they are brilliant pianists who bring a special twist to everything they do. Thank you so much, Greg and Liz. Now, in this break, we're always happy to talk to the Clyburn Gift Shop manager, Mary Elizabeth Van Meters. Welcome.
Thank
We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
First of all, before we get to the goodies, I want to know about what it's like to be the gift shop manager. What does it entail? It's not
fun.
Just standing up there with the stuff, right?
No.
There's
I get
more
to
stuff.
work with the Clyburn marketing department to develop the merchandise. As everybody knows, the Clyburn logo is so wonderful. The piano and the VC when you turn it sideways. And so we get to develop fun new things.
Let's go back to that just a minute. Let's actually demonstrate that.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so right there, if we turn it sideways, those are Van's initials, VC. That was all sort of baked into the design. The piano design was actually sort of an old design, but the designer took the bones of it and inverted it like that. That's the coolest thing.
It's so cool. So it's for piano lovers and Clyburn lovers alike, right? So this is some of the new merchandise we got just for the junior. So it's fun bringing the junior to Dallas, and a younger crowd sometimes can develop new merchandise. So this is our new mesh back cap, which is nice, ventilation for summer, and a cute little panda bear.
I like this.
Which is adorable.
This
black
is
and
pretty
white.
great.
Black and white is the Clyburn colors.
Black and white.
And
now, how did you
international.
decide on those colors, black and white?
Well, black and white is the Clyburn logo, but the pandas are just an international symbol of like the World Wildlife Fund, and it's just a great international toy.
Super cool. And also the piano keys, black and white. So it
Exactly.
just kind of
Piano.
all fits together. It's like it was meant to be somehow.
Exactly. And then a fanny pack. This is a big trend just in fashion in general. And so this is a fun new way you can wear as a belt bag or crossbody. And of course our junior merchandise. This is the official junior competition t-shirt, a great like souvenir, but also the fun color of the junior.
How did you decide on that color? Because I love this color this year. Now,
I know. Well, it was the great marketing team comes up with the colors, but we found the perfect shirt that was the right PMS, the actual right tone of teal. And they're super soft too. I know it's hard to buying online or seeing on. You can't see it, but it's very soft. And we also
so what's on the front of it?
Oh, just the great Clyburn logo. Yeah, so it's great front or back, and it's a great souvenir. We also have some pretty luxury goods we designed in conjunction with a local Fort Worth artist. They watercolored the Clyburn logo and piano keys, and so we have this beautiful kerchief scarf. That's beautiful. And the tie you're so graciously wearing.
Oh, yes, the tie, the Clyburn tie. Now, this is one of Jacques Marquis' favorite ties. He wears it a lot. This particular one with this color.
Yes, it's a raspberry, but it's good for SMU or for just America.
Now, you're not able to see, but all these, this design are actually polka dots, and inside the white polka dots is the Clyburn logo just a million times on this tie. It's great. What colors does it come in besides this?
So yellow, and then we have a more simple, so just the VC on a silver tie, which is a nice subtle look.
That was a beautiful tie.
Yeah, it's really,
as well.
it's really pretty.
In fact, that's the one you gave me earlier, but I thought maybe it wouldn't show up against my
Yes, exactly.
my gray
And we also have
jacket.
our beautiful jewelry that's also stamped with the VC. I know it's hard to see, but beautiful gold fill, again by a local jewelry artist.
So you have earrings, you have a pendant, and you have
a bracelet. And we have the earrings in sterling silver as well. They're a great gift for anybody.
That's just great.
And with Father's Day coming up, a tie
the
or a hat.
The ties are pretty great.
Yes.
This color kind of goes with anything too.
It really
I've seen
does.
Jacques wear this with all different colored suits.
Exactly. It looks good with blue or whatever.
So do you decide, I want to go back to how you develop the merchandise and how you
sure.
decide what you're going to sell. Is it like by committee and somebody says, I have a great idea, let's use a panda bear? Or what actually happened?
Yes, working with feedback. I've been a volunteer in the Clyburn shop since 2013. So it's been fun to see all the different patrons from all over the world come in and suggest, like somebody asked about reading glasses, and so we found piano key reading glasses that we sell now.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And just great little novelty gifts for piano teachers and for anybody in the Clyburn family, because that's what's great about the shop is it's all a fundraising. The Clyburn's a nonprofit, so anything that we sell in the gift shop, the money raised goes right back into the Clyburn's programs and like putting on the competition.
We
so
love to hear that.
yeah, and so a gift that you buy is a gift of spreading the Clyburn's mission.
Okay, what's the top seller in the past 2 days? What have you sold the most of?
Well, program books, because that's
Of
a good thing.
course,
And I've sold quite a few of these pretty scarves.
Really?
Yes,
Good.
and hoodies. We have a new hoodie too that I didn't.
There's
bring
a
down.
new hoodie?
A new hoodie. We have
Okay.
a black and white one, but now a gray one too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need to come see that
I know, you
because
need to come shop.
my Clyburn hoodie has come in so handy. I've had one. I've had one
We
since
just-
the last junior
2019
competition.
is when we first came out with
It's
them. But
just the greatest thing.
when
and
it's a Jacques Marquis endorsed, like the Canadian hockey playing.
it was
good,
the
nice,
greatest
thick
thing to
hoodie.
have during COVID because we did a series online called Clyburn Kids.
Yes.
And that's what I mostly wore was the Clyburn hoodie.
You look very
it's sort of
approachable.
friendly
Exactly.
and sort of kid
And cozy though,
friendly.
right?
Yeah.
Is it-
Oh, it's been awesome. I wear it all the time and I take it with me everywhere. The Clyburn hoodie
wonderful.
has been my most essential item of clothing for about 3 years.
That's
now.
awesome. We love to hear that.
So, have you had any online orders?
Yes,
so
we
far?
have. What's
Great.
so fun about that's what the webcast is all about, right? Bringing people in to see from all over. We've shipped things out from Kansas to Korea.
That's
Literally in
awesome.
these past few days. It's
Around
awesome.
the world.
Around the
That
world.
is so
yeah.
great. You can find the gift shop at shop.clyburn.org, or even easier, you can just scan that QR code that's at the bottom of your screen right now. Mary Elizabeth, thank you so much
Thank you, buddy.
for being with us, and we hope you sell out of every.
I think the pandas will go fast.
Yeah, the
They're
pandas. The pandas. I've got to say, the panda is my
Pretty
favorite.
cute.
Okay,
Thank
the Dallas Fort Worth has a vibrant art scene, and we're going to show you a little bit of that right now. Take a look.
Whenever I travel to new places, the first thing I start with is the art. What's the art scene like here in Dallas?
Thriving. There's music and visual art and theater and dance. A lot of it's right here in the Dallas Arts District.
I've been noticing a lot of the architecture out here is incredible.
We have 4 arts buildings, each designed by a different Pritzker Prize-winning architect, all right here in the Arts District. Dallas thinks big. Dallas is a bold, new city. There's a spirit of innovation that's happening in the art scene in Dallas right now that is so incredibly exciting. It's not just football and barbecue. Dallas is a world-class innovative art city.
Welcome back to the webcast. This is an exciting moment, of course, because we are starting that process. But just what we began from is so amazing. Over 240 applicants from all around the world, 44 countries. If you were a 15-year-old, what would you be looking forward to the most in this competition, do you think? If you were a competitor, what would you look for?
I think playing with the Dallas Symphony, personally, want to make it to those final rounds to really play with the orchestra. But I think what's so exciting about these competitors is a lot of them have said they're here for the whole experience, the process of getting better, making new friends, learning from their peers. I mean, these kids are super involved. They're looking for the whole experience of how many days they're going to be here in the US, experiencing maybe a new culture, but also perfecting their craft because they're hearing other pianists as well. But of course, they all want to go forward. They all want to make those final rounds so they can play with the orchestras.
Absolutely, and what a great orchestra to play with the Dallas Symphony under guest conductor Valentina Pelleggi. I was in Benjamin Rossen, who we're going to meet in just a minute, I was in his artist talk, and I saw Jacques Marquis, our president and CEO, sort of lapse into dad mode at the artist talk. So speaking of the kids having a really, really great experience, there's nobody better to guarantee that than somebody who's a dad and likes being a dad.
Yes.
And Jacques is that person.
Yes.
So he is intent that they have a wonderful experience, that their time be almost 100% structured, that they are exposed to all kinds of different pianists, musicians in all different areas of the business.
Absolutely.
And that those people be honest with the kids and stuff like that. It's just it's such a great experience.
It's amazing. I mean, this is not the first rodeo for the Clyburn, pun intended, in the fact that they've been crafting these competition experiences for a while now. The junior, while is somewhat new, they're really preempting what the students or the competitors need every step of the way, from the first arrival to staying in a dormitory maybe for the first time and having that fun social experience on top of the practicing they need and the host families to oversee what they're doing. So it's very exciting.
I think this is particularly resonant because not only are some of them staying in a dormitory for the first time, some of them are in the United States for the first time.
Exactly.
Some of them are at an international or any kind of piano competition for the very first time, so it's important to have it be an awesome experience for everybody. We think Van Clyburn would approve. We're sorry he's not here to see it, but we want to get you acquainted with Van Clyburn in case you're not. Here are two people that knew him really well.
In 1958, Cold War tensions were at their absolute height. Nuclear annihilation was a constant concern. It was against this backdrop of mutual anxiety and suspense that Texas's Van Clyburn emerged, not only winning the first Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow, but ushering in the possibility for a new generation of cultural exchange between the East and the West.
The Soviets at that time had just excelled in space and at the Olympics with gold medals, and they said, we can even do it in the arts too.
That such a competition would be won by an American, and that's what happened. Van went there. He won over the Russian public. He won over the judges. He played like an angel. I interviewed Vera Gornostayeva, who was a revered teacher at the Moscow Conservatory, and I have a picture in my book of her pointing to her heart, and that was in response to my question, what distinguished Van's playing.
And I remember perfectly well how barely my father and mother squeezed me through the crowd because there were no tickets. And I sat on my father's lap and heard Van play Tchaikovsky's first piano concert. Van Clyburn came to Russia and brought them back some fantasy which Russians lost during this so many tragedies which Russians went through.
I mean, now we refer to him as President Bush, but he was George then. I mean, he said, you know, we're opening the ballpark, and I would like to do something special. Do you have any suggestions? And I said, well, I think one of the best things you could do would be to have Van Clyburn play the national anthem. And he said, well, Van's not going to do that. He wouldn't do something like that for, you know, for a baseball game.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to perform our national anthem on opening day at the ballpark in Arlington, please welcome Texas's own Van Clyburn, joined by the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro John Giordano.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. And I mean, all of a sudden he stops and he gets up and he grabs the microphone. Oh, say, you know, there it is.
That was one of the best days ever at the ballpark with Van Clyburn playing the national anthem with the Fort Worth Symphony. It was one of my fondest memories of Van Clyburn. One of the best things about having this junior competition is to visit with alumni of our competitions. And one of our contestants from 2019 is with us now. He's Benjamin Rossen, who played, what was it by Stravinsky you played?
The Serenade in A.
Right, which is what I went on and on and on and on about in 2019. I couldn't stop myself. It was awesome. And Benjamin has been in the dual Harvard NEC program, which we'll get to in just a minute. Welcome, Benjamin Rossen.
Thank you,
It's
buddy.
so great to have you here. Yes. And you just did an artist talk at 5:15 today, and basically we are going to recreate that right now.
Let's do it.
For our webcast audience. I want to know how old you were when you started playing the piano.
Yeah, I was around 4 years old, so quite early, but yeah, blossomed.
One of the things that sort of sets you apart, and did even in 2019, was the sort of array of things that you are interested in your life, and the things that you are open to in terms of career.
Right.
So is that what sort of led you to the Harvard NEC connection? Because, I mean, that seems like a perfect fit for you.
Yeah, well, I think a large impetus of that was the Clyburn, because I did a master class with Alessio Bax, and who was a jury member. It was a jury member for the senior competition, and yeah, that was really the impetus to study with him at the New England Conservatory.
And then how did Harvard happen?
Yeah, you know, I think the attitude of going to Harvard is that it is largely an incubator for creative ideas, right? For niche ideas. And so I think the Clyburn and other experiences opened me up for change, right? It was like, this was a very eye-opening experience, and saying like, oh yeah, you can try new things. I mean, this competition of this scale was a new thing for me, and I think that mode of thinking allowed me to explore the possibility of juggling other aspects of my life.
But you had done it already in high school, right? You were already sort of juggling things, and you were already open to other ways of thinking. You were not always, okay, I'm going to practice for 6 hours, or...
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always a standard of excellence, but as a 21st century musician, I like to say that a lot. But it's true, you really need to broaden your mind, because there's just so much at stake for this genre, to be crafty and to come up with creative solutions.
Let's drill down on that a little bit. I liked when you said it to the kids, and I like when you say it now. A 21st century musician, you're not just talking about versatility within playing the piano, you're talking about something broader, I think. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, essentially, there are so many facets to being a musician than just being an instrumentalist. And I think this is thrown around a lot, but it is true. You really need to have an entrepreneurial spirit when approaching this craft. If you are going into piano seriously, there is a mode of branding, right? You need to ask yourself, what am I presenting to this community that is new and exciting? And whether that's through programming or whether that's through actual initiatives and programs that you create yourself, not just musical, but organizational. I think that's what's required for any artist.
Do you consider yourself a person who is a natural leader or a natural organizer?
I think you have to be surrounded by the right people for them to enable you to be one. So I found myself in many positions of leadership, but it wasn't until I was able to effectively compromise with these people who had brilliant ideas and to say, okay, this is why I think this works better, or why I think this is an alternative solution. I'm talking about like musical productions in the sphere of like making a show. That to me is what's necessary to be an effective leader, to seek conflict and to resolve it amicably and productively.
Okay, so let's talk about musical productions, because I don't think somebody starts studying the piano, comes to this competition, and then simultaneously has the goal of putting on an opera or a ballet or something. That is, you know, that's a remote possibility for most people, but it has come to pass in your life. So let's talk about the path to that. So, okay, here you are, you know, at Harvard and NEC, and then all of a sudden you are involved in opera and musicals and stuff like that. How did it all happen?
Yeah, it was very accidental. I think by happenstance, I just walked into an opera rehearsal and fell in love with the process. I think that's the thing.
What did you like about it?
Yeah.
What did you love?
Yeah, I mean, the process was so eye-opening because, not to quote a famous opera composer, but this opera was really total music, in that it synergized all disciplines, from costumes to set design to dance and vocals and music and instrumental music. And I think that understanding that process enabled me to understand myself much better. Even as a pianist, I think the way in which we juggle moving parts can sometimes be elusive, but
it wasn't your first experience with opera at all, right? I mean, you had heard opera before. You just hadn't seen how the sausage was made.
I didn't jump into that process.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go in this opera rehearsal, and then all of a sudden the wheels start turning or something up here?
Yeah. It was just a finished product that I think so many people reveled in. That was so special to me. I think, I was still practicing and studying the scores alone, but then to share it not only with audiences but with like-minded individuals was very special. And then executing it and putting on like 6 shows was, yeah.
Okay, so you said executing and putting on 6 shows like as a throwaway line. That's really hard.
No.
I mean, it takes a lot of time to put a show on, yeah?
Yeah.
So how did you manage that with, I mean, you're in school, you have practicing to do, and then also you're putting on an opera. Did you sleep at all?
Yeah, you know, it's the paradox of at least being in university, because you have so much added freedom. And I was telling the competitors and the festival participants this, like they're all high school age and they're entering university in a few years or next year. So you're definitely going to experience a sudden change in perception of freedom and of agency. And in fact, yeah, you have to be a leader of yourself. I think maybe beforehand, you know, people supported you and people guided you, but you may be more independent than you expected. And so, yeah, I don't know the strategies. It just happened because you love it so much. You just have to make it work.
Yeah, I think that is the key. Yeah. And even in high school, I think you were a person who said yes to things more often than you said no, right? I mean, you were open to things. Do you think that's just you, or did you learn how to be that way, or did you think it was a good idea to be that way, or are you naturally that way, do you think? Yeah,
I mean, I think I'm open and receptive to things, mainly because I've experienced what it feels like to fail at those things. My family enabled me to pursue this craft, and I experienced many losses, right? Whether it's through competitions or applications or what it may be. That being said, the more you do that, you're just reminded of maybe why are you doing this? Or I'm asking myself that a lot more. And at the end of the day, it's just such a lifeblood. It's a deep passion. And so I wouldn't trade it for the world. And that's why I'm open to any avenue that I can pursue the art of classical music, because you know, that's what I almost must do.
Yeah. I think if you don't just have to do it, that's when you start thinking of other things. But if you have to do it, you know you have to do it. One thing you said in your artist talk today, which was great, and it was a great phrase, and I think the kids will remember, is framing your failures. Can you talk about what that means to you and what you just mean by the term?
Yeah, well, I think I meant to say that failures are hard to deal with, and it's completely okay to feel that whatever negative emotions you may experience. But ultimately, as I said, you go through the vicissitudes of life. That's normal, right? I think if you don't fail, then you don't know what you don't know, perhaps, right? So you need to be able to experience that and understand what's at stake, and realize that it's a universal experience too, that we all go through tribulations, and ultimately, I think high risk, high reward kind of thing.
Oh, sure. No guts, no glory, right?
Yeah, I think so. So just being steadfast and I mean, these musicians especially are just so talented, so intelligent, and so driven that one setback should not define them.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit also about the other Benjamin Rossen, the one who has an economics degree now from Harvard. Now, okay, so how did we land on economics? And then what's that whole process like? And we'll get to your thesis in a minute because I want to go there too. But how did economics enter the picture?
Yeah, well, largely in high school, I took a course and I very much enjoyed it. And in terms of why I stuck with it, I think economics is really the study of decisions. And what is life but a myriad decisions? And so
a series of them.
Yeah.
Guess what? Doesn't let up either.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. I'm thinking. Yeah. So ultimately, it's just it's not necessarily economics as a framework of how I make decisions, but for me, it was a pathway in learning certain case studies and exploring just historical analyses of how people make decisions. That to me was incredibly compelling.
Okay, so let's jump to your thesis. Tell us about your thesis.
Okay.
I mean, I know the title of it because I follow you on Facebook, but I want everybody else to know about it.
Right. So I did a double major at Harvard, which was music or musicology and economics. So this was a thesis presented to the music department, and essentially the big question it asks is, how do people form musical preferences? So for any genre of music, why do they have an affinity towards one over the other? And I present a framework in the field of political theory known as critical security studies, and this was a topic I got into a lot with research last summer. And I sort of implemented that to assess how cultural institutions shape invisibly people's preferences, aesthetic preferences. Aesthetics, being how people position themselves in the world and how they build their values. And so I tackled understanding why I like Stravinsky in that way. Yeah. So no, it was really a broad study, and I looked at the 1960s and the many forms of experimentalism to understand. Like, these are quite similar on paper, but why? Just reception-wise.
Music did explode. Then there were a lot of different streams happening then, and it didn't really start to coalesce until maybe this century, actually, again. Right. Okay, what's next? What's this summer? What's next year?
Yeah, well, now I'm very excited. I'll be finishing my master's degree in piano performance at the New England Conservatory. Then on the other end of that, putting together this new opera through wonderful people I work at Harvard. I'm very excited to put it together, a new production there, and plan a new season of events for this total art.
Awesome.
So, figure it out.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
You're always going to be figuring it out. That's the thing. So you're always going to feel pretty much like this. But that's great. It's a blessing. All right. Benjamin Rossen, we are so happy to talk to you and so proud of you.
Thank you.
And so proud to claim you as a member of the Clyburn family. Another member of our Clyburn family is the Texas Ballet Theater, who have supported this webcast and continue to do so through a generous donation from Auntie and Robert M. Bass. Here's a look at the full season for Texas Ballet Theater. Take a look.
Now, I guess every town has a flavor all its own. But this one seems to have more than most. Perched on the edge of the prairie, where it can never lose sight of its past and can see the future forever. Fort Worth, Texas, the unexpected city.
Just a little information about the full season next year for our friends at Texas Ballet Theater. Good evening, I'm Buddy Bray.
And I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe.
Okay, The votes are in, actually.
It's happening.
Bridget. We told you it would not be long. Jacques has a whole system, and it just never takes that long. What do you think they're feeling?
You know, I have to say, there's got to be all the feels, excitement, trepidation. I also think it's really exciting that these young pianists have had this season of life, 13 to 17, to do nothing but their craft. Of course, they do a million other things, but this protected time, so they're feeling a lot of weight because this is their place for their passion. It's the piano, and that's the gift of this season of life, is focusing on this. So I'm sure it's a wonderful, heavy weight.
What were you like at 13?
Oh. I might have been roller skating versus playing the piano for 8 hours. I was definitely practicing the harp for 4 hours, which felt like a lot at the time.
And how did you do that? I mean, did you go to regular school all day and then practice 4 hours when you got home?
Exactly. We're going to school, you come home, you practice, but I think at that age you're so precocious, it's not a problem, right? You have family support, you're being driven everywhere, but I wasn't taking a train for 7 hours across China for lessons, I'll say that. Amazing.
At what point do you think that it became urgent for you to have a career playing the harp? Because that's the thing that we keep dancing around here, but what we're really talking about is that this age group, they've still got a decision to make.
Yes, buddy.
Some of them have already made it, some of them haven't. So,
you know, I want to say that I think there's a nugget inside musicians when they know they want to be a musician. And I remember I was actually an oboist in my high school orchestra freshman year, and I heard the sound envelop me in the orchestra. And I remember thinking, I don't care how much money I make or don't make, how hard it will be, I will be a musician. And I knew from that moment on, and I'm glad it happened early, because I could focus. And I would be surprised if a lot of these pianists are not already there, because we see that joy on stage and that desire and that passion. But yes, it's something I think that you really know you want to do, and hopefully it hasn't been imposed upon you. Right? You feel it from the inside out, and you have to honor that calling, right? That's just
beautifully said.
The thing.
And I think that's why also there is such joy in these kids when they meet other kids who have made that decision already, who are or who have that vocation or that calling.
Yes.
Like you say.
Well said.
So they know they're not the only ones in the world.
Absolutely.
And the 24 are about to become 12. Now, have you picked your 12? Did you? I don't even try anymore.
I'll show you my note. I sadly could not whittle down beyond 12 to 12. I don't know how they're doing this. I mean, what's crazy is that each of these amazing competitors have something so unique and special. They're so individual. I do not envy this jury. I couldn't choose 12.
In the interviews on Tuesday, Maggie Estes, our VP of Communications, and I wanted every single one of them to win the competition. I still kind of feel that way. I still kind of feel that way because they are just showing us who they are and showing us what they love.
And unabashed in that, just showcase, right? It's really special.
If we could stay that age, because what they're doing, they are showing us what they love, and then they are making us love it too.
Yes.
They're making the audience love it too. I think sometimes we lose that as adults, that immediacy. I am going to unabashedly and unashamedly show you what I love to do.
And also, I think you make a valuable point. When we are fully ourselves on stage, the audience feels that. They want that for us. And I think we're feeling that for each of these competitors that really showed us vulnerably who they are on stage.
What do you think about, repertoire requirements? Because there are a lot of competitions, I'm sure this is true in harp world also, where really everything is prescribed. You're going to do your grand genie, and you're going to do your salzedo, and you're going to do this etude, and then you're going to do that.
Yes.
And then we don't really do that. Do you think it helps more to have as a former competitor and a victor yourself, do you think it helps to have structure or not? Or
I think it's a limited repertoire with the harp, and so it's a nice configuration because it sets a standard internationally for where you should be at a certain age. I think the parameters of the Clyburn are lovely because, of course, everyone had to play a Bach Prelude and Fugue. What a great way to go into the competition and start their program. But the free choice, knowing they have to do virtuosic etude and all those things, it really allows them to have the freedom at this lovely age where they're still discovering, like you said, who they are, to put something out there that they've chosen. I think that's very sweet.
There are further requirements actually in the competition. There is a classical sonata. There is a slow lyrical work.
Right.
And there is a work by a living composer also in a certain round. I can't remember what it is right now. And then we've given them a list of concerti from which to choose. We've strategically left out a few concerti, which are always the sort of slayers in a competition. We have purposefully left those
It's very
out.
thoughtful.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in these subsequent rounds, particularly actually in something lyrical.
Yes.
If that is an imposition, if we are imposing a lyrical work on people, that is so telling to me.
Isn't it so? I think we've already seen that in this round. There are certain pianists in the preliminaries who have kind of taken an inner excavation approach to their music making, and we've felt that soulful musicianship, even though they're younger age. They have such depth, and that lyrical performance really shows you the poetry of their soul and where they are with their craft. And I don't know if that can be taught. I mean, there's certain things that can be taught, and most of them have these technical chops to burn, right? But what you're saying is that this soulful kind of inward, outward lyrical playing is really something to look forward to, see more of.
And I think sometimes that soulful lyrical approach that you're talking about, that we saw so beautifully in some competitors, actually also informs their technical approach. It becomes a chicken or the egg thing. Is the soul coming first, or is that technical approach to the piano coming first? These are the things that are so fascinating in younger people who will do things automatically before they overthink them.
Yes.
And I think that actually comes with adulthood as well. We get layers and layers and layers and layers, and that's when we tend to overthink and take all the fun out of everything.
Yes, impromptu expression that is inside. That's beautifully said. Yeah.
So I am looking forward to hearing these competitors in the next round as well, and also to hearing the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. Guest conductor Valentina Pileggi, who has a list of accomplishments as long as my arm, but she has also been a protege of a great member of our Clyburn family, who is Marin Alsop, who was the chairman of the last jury and, of course, conducted so beautifully for our
It was incredible. I will never forget how many, of course, concerti she had under her belt, and just gave 100% on the podium every single performance from start to finish while rehearsing the orchestra, before the performance and rehearsals with the pianist. It was really phenomenal to witness that. So,
you know, this might be a good time to go into this, which is that the amount of rehearsal that a soloist gets with an orchestra in real life is vanishingly small sometimes. What would you say was the sort of average amount of time you get?
I think usually a rehearsal and a dress rehearsal. So sometimes,
but you won't get the full orchestra rehearsal.
That's
like
correct,
half
exactly.
Of it, right?
You'll have 45 minutes perhaps with your piece, and hopefully the orchestra has touched the work beforehand if it's not a standard masterwork. But especially for newer commissions, that's tricky to get like a lot of time with the soloist. But what's great is that these conductors, of course, have had a rehearsal with the soloist to know their tempi and to know those things before they go in. Right.
You hope so.
I'm spoiled.
Okay. Actually, the jury's back in. The contestants have filed in. We are ready to go to the stage for the announcement of the quarterfinalists at this year's Clyburn Junior. Here we go down to stage.
To introduce Jeff King, the chairman of the Clyburn board. Jacques Marquis, President and CEO of the Clyburn. And Janina Fielkowska, Chairman of the jury. We will now hear from Jacques Marquis, President and CEO of the Clyburn.
Thank you. First, thank you will be to SMU for hosting us here in Dallas. It's been great, and we'll be here for more days. Then thank you, SMU, and yes, we can clap. I would like to thank the audience here. It's really, really great to have people coming to see these amazing talents. Then thank you. And we have an online audience, and the last numbers is 150,000 views since yesterday. Another thank you to the jury. They are engaged, they are fun and knowledgeable, which is great. Then thank you for you. And finally, I would like to thank the 23 competitors and for your engagement, your passion, and your desire of excellence. I would like you to stand up and we'll applaud them. Thank you. And now please welcome the chairman of the jury, Janina Fialkowska.
Thank you very much. I'm going to keep my remarks to the absolute minimum because I know you don't want to listen to an old lady go on and on about something. But I just want to say two things. One, that it's an incredible privilege to serve on this remarkable jury that's very distinguished, and we worked very hard, and we're doing our best to help these young people who are so talented. My second thing is to thank all 23 of you. Every single one of you played wonderfully. And let me tell you, to choose 12 was no easy matter. In fact, it was very painful, and I wish you could all play. But, okay, I have to name now the 12 who've made it to the quarterfinals, and I'm going to be telling your names in no specific order. This is in random order, okay? It's not in the order of which you played or alphabetical, it's just random, okay? All right. First, Taigu Wong. Joanwa Wei. Edison Chen. Jan Schulmeister. Modan Oyama. Zihan Jin. Zhejier Wong. Yiran Zhou. Alisa Gabrilovic. Tian Kun Ma. Yifan Wu. And lastly, Seok-young Hong.
Once again, we thank you all. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at 10. We have also festival participants, and they will play here tomorrow morning. And at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon is the beginning of the quarterfinals. Thank you, and have a great night.
There are Jacques Marquis and Janina Fielkowska, Jeff King, who's the chairman of the board, still on stage here at Caruth Auditorium on the campus of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. This has been the announcement of the 12 quarterfinalists at this edition of the Clyburn Junior. This is the 2023 Clyburn International Junior Piano Competition. There are 12 happy quarterfinalists in a row having their picture taken. Bridget, what do you think they're thinking, these 12?
Oh, they are very excited right now. You can see it. They're budding up. They're ready for the next round. They can't wait to play tomorrow. It's a vote of confidence. I'm sure there's some surprise, some delight. Some felt very assured.
Actually, a couple of them were looking pretty serious to me. Do you think?
Maybe they're already thinking about the program tomorrow. Although this is not the first rodeo for a lot of these young competitors. Many of them have competed before, and they're onward. They're keeping that long game in mind.
Jacques Marquis, all smiles.
Yes.
These 12 young people.
There's Edison Chen.
Both of the 13-year-olds have made it through. Tai Wang and
true.
Edison Chen, both in this shot.
Yes, we have a mix of ages. International, national, we really do have quite a diverse set here of young talents. I think they all look quite happy.
They do to me,
and
too.
they are now ready to pose for the photo.
Welcome back to the webcast. We're just about to sign off. We just want to wish you a nice evening. Bridget Kibbe and I will both be back tomorrow at 2:25 Central Time ahead of our 2:30 first performance in this quarterfinal round of the 2023 Clyburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival.
We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Have a good evening.